Hi there, I'm Melanie Rogers, and this is The Wonderful.
Jennifer Kriatsulis.
And we're talking about motherhood and recovery, as we're both recovered clinicians. Today's topic is about being a mum and giving yourself permission to have some space and to also get some support. So what Jen and I were talking about, is perhaps one of the myths of motherhood is that when you're with your kids all the time, then you're euphoric all of the time. And the reality is we're only human, and the reality is that, like with anything we love, you still need some downtime to yourself to just rebalance, collect your thoughts. And if you don't take that time as a mum, you can slowly kind of find yourself getting irritable is probably an understatement of just feeling off balance, and therefore not being as mindful as you want to be when you're with your kids. And certainly I know for me, it's harder for me to handle my daughter and tantrums that are all age appropriate and all of that sort of behavior. So the goal is to make sure you have some time for yourself. And I learnt this the hard way, Jen. The first 2 years, after I had my little girl who's 4, the only time I wasn't with her, I was at work running my business, and if I wasn't at work, then I was with her. And after 2 years, I really felt just so out of whack and out of sorts. And so there was a pretty big dramatic and drastic kind of health scare that I went through at that time that was related to exhaustion. And it was only after that I was very deliberate in carving out time for me. So that might be going to see some friends, that might be going alone to go see a movie, that might be taking a couple of hours and going shopping, and not having guilt that I wasn't with my daughter, but she was in good hands and being cared for. But I needed that time, so when I came back to the home and I was with her, I could so appreciate my time with her and just love all those little moments that can sometimes make you crazy as well. So I just found that from a mental health perspective, if you will, just my own internal balance. I really got it wrong in the first 2 years, and I've made big changes, and I got to tell you, I'm so much happier as a result, and I know I'm a much better mum in the sense of being patient, but also being totally with and connected to my daughter when I'm with her. So space, an incredibly important thing that I think we underestimate. Your story, Jen?
Yes, similar to yours in that I had to learn my lesson the hard way, right? And I don't say that in a shameful way. It's more the reality that we carry a lot of guilt about being away from our children. I can remember talking to colleagues who were also moms, and the guilt that they would express about not being home, even to go to work, to run out and go grocery shopping. I had friends who would go grocery shopping at 10:30 at night after the children were asleep, because they just felt so guilty to leave them.
Wow.
Right? So that might be a feeling that you're bumping up against. You might know inside that you need something for yourself, but the guilt is so strong that you feel like you need to stay. But I want to echo that giving yourself time and space to be and breathe and rejuvenate and restore does make you more available to serve your family in the way that you want to. I always felt like the walls were closing in on me. When I went through the period before I kind of came around to giving myself permission to take space, it resulted in just massive feelings of overwhelm. The walls were closing in on me. I was so removed from myself, and I wasn't enjoying my children.
Right.
And it's important that mom takes care of herself. Right? Because what we're doing then is modeling that behavior for our children. Right? So it's also important to remember that even if you're feeling guilty about leaving, by not, you might be modeling some behavior that isn't going to be helpful to them at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And there's no shame in any of it. Right? This is definitely a process that we have to navigate and learn. But we just want to validate for you that yes, it can be hard, and yes, you do deserve to take space.
Absolutely. And if we weave in their recovery and wanting to make sure we stay strong in our recovery,
Yes.
then, you know, kind of slipping down a rabbit hole with being exhausted and not having time to yourself and not having that time to just balance yourself, again, can really set you up for a risk of relapse down the road. So I was fortunate that at the first 2 years I didn't relapse, because I was very hypervigilant around that. But I did. My anxiety was through the roof, and I went through a depression around that 2-year mark. Now, we also know that anxiety and depression go hand in hand with an eating disorder. So I knew that I was on thin ice, and I knew I was so out of balance, mentally and physically, that I needed to do something about it. And what I encourage, you know, people to do also out there is, you know, look at getting some daycare. You know, look at daycare options around you if you don't have family or friends that can help out. And you know what, I take my daughter to daycare now, and I go to pick her up, and she says, "Mummy, I want to stay and play with my friends."
My
and
children
I'm like,
too. My children too.
You know, so it's okay, and actually it's really healthy for them to have you know, a little social life and such like that. And I think Jen and I also, as mothers, who are also career women, we both were talking about maternity leave and then getting back to work, and how both of us felt that, you know, being at home during maternity leave was a very difficult time. We basically couldn't wait to get back to our normal lives, and that was a very hard time to just be home and going through, well, a lot that we went through with postpartum as well. So that idea of space being necessary, and not feeling guilty about that, not feeling guilty that I need to work, I need to have my career and that stimulation, and then I have this lovely balance with also being a mum to my daughter, and I'm the best version of myself, if that's, you know, if that makes sense. I feel I am, because I feel fulfilled in my intellectual career, and I feel very fulfilled being a mum as well, and they're not mutually exclusive.
Absolutely. You know, in the same way that we want our children to be whole, right? That same intention is something that we need to bring to our own beings, right? Into our own lives. You know, we need to be whole so that they can be whole as well.
Absolutely. And I have to say, I did resent it early on as a feminist, the idea that, you know, women sit around talking about how am I going to balance babies and career, and I was just like, this is making me sick, this conversation. How many guys sit around having this conversation? I don't think so, you know. And the reality is, guys, unfortunately, I do think that still a lot of the child rearing does you know, end up on the mum's shoulders. How you navigate that with your partner is up to you. But I think also when you want to be a mum, I want to spend time with my daughter. So I wanted to cut back hours at my work, my place of work, to spend time with her. And actually I'm glad that I have the ability to do that. Because if I was in a job, Jen, where I was required to be at work 60, 80 hours a week, and I didn't have that flexibility, I think I would feel really, really cheated at a quality time with my daughter. So it's about finding a balance that works for you, and it can take some time to figure out what that balance is, right?
Yeah, absolutely.